Well, our next guest believes that anyone, including yourself, can bring meaning into your life by following one simple rule: undertake a quest. Please welcome, he's an author, Chris Guillebeau, of a new book called The Happiness of Pursuit. Hey, Chris. Oh, look, I'm getting phone calls already. Please don't call me. I'm a little busy on air.
The telemarketer calling you up there.
They want your book.
Yeah, that's great.
At the age of 35, something happened.
At the age of 35, I completed the 10-year quest of going to every country in the world. 10 and a half years, but who's counting?
Why? Why do this?
Because I love travel. That was the first part. I loved traveling. I lived in West Africa for about 4 years. I was an aid worker, and I also liked making lists. I was always writing down my to-dos and my tasks. Yeah. So once I started traveling, I wrote down the list of my countries. And I had about 30 of them after a while, and I was like, I want to go to 100. Like, wow. That's my big goal, like sometime before I die. And then I realized, like, that's not going to be that difficult, actually. Like, I worked, got closer toward it about 4 years in, and then I thought, real challenge. Let's go to every single country in the world, and every good goal has a deadline, so I chose 35th birthday.
That's amazing.
So forgive me, but how many countries are there in the world?
There are 193. There were 192 when I started, and then South Sudan gained independence. So I had to decide, do I put it in, do I leave it out? But I decided to put it in.
So here's a guy, Kate. He's 25 years old, decides on this. At 25, where are you getting this money from? Aren't you asking yourself that question?
Yeah, I was actually. And then I found kind of how you did it. So maybe explain.
Oh, great.
How you managed to afford it.
Perfect. So the first thing was, it actually wasn't that expensive. And that's partly why I was drawn to it. Once I realized, like, I did the math, I was like, to get to the 100 countries, I realized it would cost about $30,000. So I don't mean to say that $30,000 is not a lot of money, but one, I didn't have to pay it all at once. I'd be paying it out over time. Yeah. Two, I chose to value that experience. I thought, this is what some people spend on education. It's what people spend on a car.
True.
I'm going to pay this over years, and like I'm going to get 100 countries. Like, think about the value that's going to come to me through that. And then I used frequent flyer miles. I used what I called travel hacking to continue to reduce the cost. So for me, it was all about a lifestyle. It was all about how can I incorporate this into the things I already love to do, and how can I make it feasible.
That's incredible.
So a lot of it's documented in your book, right?
Indeed, I wrote all about it. So I wrote about my quest, and then I didn't want to just write a travel memoir. I also wrote about lots of other people who are also pursuing quests and what they learned along the journey and what I learned from them and why we should consider a quest for ourselves.
One of the things that you do say too, you say that anyone can bring meaning into their life by undertaking a quest. You
Right.
truly believe that?
I do believe that. I believe anyone can cultivate the value of adventure in their lives, right? So you may not be able to go to every country in the world. There's a Canadian guy in the book who ran 250 marathons in a single year. Great story, wow. But most of us probably aren't going to be able to do that. But there's lots of other stories. There's a woman in Oklahoma who's making a meal from every country in the world. She wanted to raise her daughter with an international perspective. She couldn't travel, but she found a way to do this. So she made a quest for herself where she was.
Is it something as simple as we're trying to find meaning in our life? Is that what this is really all about?
I think that a lot of us have a yearning to do something more. We have this striving. We have this sense, even if we're happy, even if we have a good life, there are so many opportunities in the world. Why not pursue them? And for me, it was great when I combined travel with goal setting. Like, I loved just traveling. That was fine. But once I had the quest, it just brought so much more meaning to my life. I knew I had something to focus on. I had this challenge. It was all about the challenge. Like, the challenge was the best part. Last year I turned 35. I made it to that last country. But really, the challenge, the 10-year challenge, was even better.
Oh.
And how do you find your challenge, though? Like, how people are sitting at home, okay, I need
sure,
a challenge, now what?
Well, you experiment. You start by doing different things. You think about what you like to do. You think about what you like to do when you were 10 years old. What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were 10? And did it change along the way? What are you excited about? What are you passionate about? Also, what bothers you about the world? A lot of people have found their quest by focusing on something that was irritating or annoying to them, or a global problem that they tried to solve in their own way. And then you experiment, you do different stuff. Like I said, I didn't know I was going to every country in the world right in the beginning. I kind of worked up to it and I got more confidence as I pursued what I loved.
There must have been that fear at the beginning when you said on the onset, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? Because I'm sure the 10 years that you went and did this pursuit, if you will, wasn't all just peaches and cream.
No, absolutely not. There were lots of challenges, as I said, and misadventures and things that went wrong. But I guess the fear that drove me was the fear of regret. And I realized, like, once I had this idea, once I really kind of worked it out and was like, this might actually be possible, I knew if I didn't pursue it, I would regret it. Like, if I was stopped along the way, if something went wrong, like, I would be disappointed, but that would be an external circumstance.
Well, there's countries out there, too, that are not safe at this moment, where you just, okay, take a deep breath, okay, Okay, in, out, what was that?
There's not that many of them. You know, there's not that many of them. 193 countries in the world, 160 to 170 are totally safe. You know, and you've got just a small group. And then even there are good people there. There's a way to do it. I didn't just do in and out. I didn't count airport stops. I didn't count transits. I was always staying at least several days in most cases.
And quickly, what place surprised you the most? Like, what country stood out the most out of all of them?
I don't have a favorite country, but I like the way you asked that question. I really liked Bhutan in Southeast Asia. I lived in Ghana as well. I really liked it there. And then a small little country in Eastern Europe, Lithuania, really had a good impact on me. So I'm hoping to go back there.
Cool.
It's called The Happiness of Pursuit by Chris Guillebeau. It is available now. It's been out for a month now, correct?
That's right.
And he's doing this speaking tour all across the United States and all across Canada. And so we're so thankful to have you here because it's another one of your stops.
Thank you.
Another adventure.
Wouldn't miss it.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Phoenix.
Still to come, it's pretty cool what this next guest is going to do. He wants to break a world record ice boating. More about that. But here's what's happening in and around our city as well, too, that you should be aware of. The Cutting Horse Futurity. This event pits horse against cow in a kind of a one-on-one defense, trying to keep the cow away from the herd. That sounds like fun. It's happening Wednesday, right through until Friday at the Agrium Building in Stampede Park. You are watching Trending on Shaw.